Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Lemonade and Lemons, where we squeeze lemons and sip lemonade. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. And to make sure you stay updated on all the videos that I drop, hit that notification bell. Now today I'm going to be reviewing the Surviving R. Kelly document that aired last night, the second part of day 2. It went into much more detail than the first day. So what I did is I just took bullets as far as everyone that was interviewed and everything that they had to say. So I'm just going to break it down that way because it was a lot that was actually said in this part 2 series. It was really based around the videotape in the trial. So everything that everybody was talking about, it had something to do with the videotape and or the trial that happened behind the underage girl, Sparkle's niece, that R. Kelly supposedly slept with. Okay, so first, Lisa Van Allen, they interviewed her. It was really more like a pickup from day 1 to where she was saying, and it has been confirmed because I wasn't really for sure, but she is the one that had a threesome with R. Kelly and the 14-year-old niece of Sparkle. And throughout this, we're just going to call her niece because, of course, her name isn't given in the documentary at all. So we're just going to call her niece. But Lisa Van Allen, they picked up with her story from day 1. And she just pretty much said that R. Kelly told her that Sparkle's niece was 16 instead of 14. See, she was also 16 at the age, because I was like at first, why does a 2-year difference make any difference to you? The girl was still underage. Well, she was also 16 at the time. So I guess she felt better if the girl was 16 instead of her being 2 years younger than her. Okay, so with that, she also, the question was asked, was she ever around or did she ever meet Andrea Kelly? And she did mention that she happened to be having sex with R. Kelly while Andrea Kelly was upstairs. She never met her before. She said she had seen her. She said every time they went out and they stayed in other hotels, they were always kept apart. Andrea, of course, is with her husband, R. Kelly, and then Lisa Van Allen is probably with one of the assistants. So there you have it. She says that she was always around, but she never engaged with Andrea Kelly. They were never able to see one another throughout the house. She also mentions that she now this is where they talk about this videotape. This is where speaking of the videotape in the trial, this is where all of this began. She said that she actually was left in the studio alone with R. Kelly, and he left out and he left his bag where he kept the sex tapes because she was adamant about getting this tape back. She felt so bad about it. She didn't want to be seen in that light. So she was stuck on trying to retrieve this sex tape that was made of her, Kelly, and this underage girl niece. So when R. Kelly leaves out of the studio, she proceeds to go through his bag where he keeps the tapes, and she went through all of them. She said it was several, and she went through all of them until she found the one with her and niece on it, as well as him. And she took it and she hid it for a couple of days. I'm not for sure. She just took it back to her room and she hid it. And she even says that throughout all of this, she says that she knows that it was the girl, it was niece in the video, because that was the question that was asked to her as well. She knows that it was niece because she recognizes the girl because of her features, her body, because she's had sex with her. She went into details about that. I'm not going to mention it here, but she says that she was able to recognize the girl from the videotape because she also reviewed it, and she had to give her account of whether or not it was the girl. And she said that it was the girl because she recognized her features. Okay, so she ended up taking the tape, and she claims that she had another artist to hold on to the tape. She doesn't mention what artist that is, but for some strange reason, and I just didn't get this. I mean, if you have the tape in your possession, why not go ahead and destroy it? If you have to break it up into little pieces and flush it down the toilet, why not just go ahead and do that? I just didn't get that part. But she said she ended up telling R. Kelly that she took the tape. That just doesn't sit well with me. I'm not for sure, but this is what she's saying. She didn't say, I'm sure R. Kelly was pretty pissed, but she did not mention anything about his behavior when she told him. She didn't mention anything like that. But she said that R. Kelly paid $250,000 to get the tape back. And he made her and anyone else that was involved in where this tape lied, he made them take a lie detector test. And she does say that one person did fail the lie detector test. Now, with that $250,000, the money was given to his accountant to retrieve the tape. And even after the tape was retrieved, the tape had already been copied. And from there, R. Kelly accused Lisa Van Allen of extortion, trying to get money out of him. So, yeah, that's it with her account as far as the tape and so forth. Now, moving on, she also states that she didn't say if it was before this account or if it was after, but she states that she missed her period and she told R. Kelly about it, and he had her to take a pregnancy test in front of him, which it did end up turning out to be positive. And he asked her what did she want to do, and she opted for an abortion because, in her words, she just didn't want to have a baby by him. But diseases are okay. Okay, whatever. Anyway, she says that R. Kelly had his team to set it up, and she ended up going to Planned Parenthood where she had an abortion. Now, that is the end of Lisa Van Allen's account for day 2. Moving on to Andrea Kelly. She did have a lot to say on last night's show. She did have quite a bit to say other than what she had to say on day 1, because she really didn't have much to say. But some of these things I'm sure are still things that we've heard. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and give her account of what she has to say. Now, the question was asked, did she even know about any of the other girls? And she claims that she never knew. She did end up asking R. Kelly about the girls because she was beginning to see his name a lot in the tabloids. She said like every other week. And he always denied it. And she says that the only way that he was able to get away with these things is because his team was helping him to cover this up. As well as his behavior. Now, she goes to mention that in one incident, R. Kelly ended up putting her on a bus in the middle of the night to Florida without telling her why. I mean, just packed up, put on the bus, and she's on her way to Florida. And she's pregnant at the time with her 3rd child, Little Rob. So she couldn't understand why that was going on. She said security was even placed at the door, like a 24-hour surveillance. And she was under so much stress when she ended up going to her OBGYN. They couldn't even find a heartbeat for the baby. So she had to have her labor induced. Now, while trying to make phone calls to R. Kelly, she says that it took for her to go through 10 different people before she could even get him on the phone. Mm-mm. Now, she claims after giving birth to little Rob, she's sitting there, I guess she's at home or she's still in the hospital, because she said it happened not too long after. She's watching the news, and it's a breaking news report where a warrant has been issued for R. Kelly. Can you imagine? Can you imagine not knowing all that's going on, and then you see your husband, this superstar of a man, strewn across the news on all channels, claiming there has been a warrant issued for his arrest? I could only imagine how she have felt at that moment. And she did mention, she said she damn near blacked out. But anyway, after all of this, you know, I guess she just had enough at that point. So, she did say she approached him again about it, but he just completely denied all accusations. And she was fed up to the point to where she wanted to commit suicide. She was just that stressed behind everything that was going on, and she didn't want to believe that this could be true about her husband. So she ended up calling a hotline, and she said they had like 7 questions, and she answered yes to all but 2 of them. So that's when she realized that she was indeed being abused. Well, Andrea, she ended up leaving with her children in the middle of the night. She says that her children were shunned at school, couldn't even sit at the same table with other students for being teased and bullied. And she had enough. She had enough of the embarrassment. So she sought out for an order of protection, and the judge even went so far himself to order that R. Kelly have no contact with his own children. He stopped paying child support, and she claims that that was a form of punishment for her. And she's claiming that he still has not paid any child support. None whatsoever. Okay, so that's the end of Andrea Kelly's account on day 2. Now, Demetrius Smith, which we know him to be R. Kelly's former assistant, he had a lot to say on day 1. He didn't have too much to say here in day 2. He just only mentioned that he did know about the sex tapes, and that he did claim that R. Kelly came to him and told him that he just could not stop filming himself with these girls. So that was said. And also Jim Press, I'm not for sure of who he is, but he also mentioned pretty much the same thing, that he did end up seeing a lot of the tapes that were made and produced by R. Kelly. So those 2, they didn't have much to say here on day 2. So let's move along to the journalists. Now, a lot of journalists are giving their accounts of what went on throughout the whole series. So I didn't take down any names. I just made points about some of the stuff that were said from each journalist. One of them claimed that several lawsuits against Kelly were uncovered that these young women and or their parents had filed, and those were actually settled out of court, which R. Kelly does admit to this. He also used a non-disclosure agreement to keep the girls and their families quiet. So that was that. So they couldn't really move forward with it because they didn't have actual proof. But an anonymous videotape ended up coming into the Sun-Times Tribune, and that's when they began looking into child pornography, because they did see that this what appeared to be a young girl in this tape. But really, that still wasn't enough, because they didn't have the proof or didn't know her age at the time. She just seemed to appear young. But a fax ended up coming over identifying the girl in the tape. So this fax that comes along actually gives the girl's age and I guess also her name, but the fax identifies niece. Now, because of this, the police were called due to protocol because the girl is verified to be 14 years old. So with this all going down, this is when the tape began to circulate, and it's circulating while R. Kelly happens to be performing at the Olympics. And that's just to say that his life has not stopped. He's still carrying on doing his music and so forth. So after being arrested, because now they have filed a warrant for his arrest, and after being arrested and bailing out of jail, one of the journalists says that R. Kelly actually goes to a church where many young girls are known to attend and worship. Okay, I guess he had to get his fix after being locked up for so many hours. I guess it's sad, but okay. Well, R. Kelly was again arrested in Miami. I guess this is after he had packed Andrea and the children up and moved to Florida. But he was arrested again in Miami with the same charge. But the case was dropped because there wasn't enough reason to search his property. So I guess the case is only stemming from what went on in Chicago, wherever they were staying. And they were still looking to search his property. Because now he's packed up, he's moved, everything's moved, but they're wanting to search property, and they just found that it wasn't enough reason given for them to allow a warrant to be issued to search his property. So the case ended up being dropped. Now, during all of this, Chocolate Factory drops, and it goes #1. And this is just to say that he was still receiving the same support from his fans. Nothing stopped with R. Kelly throughout all of this. So the case ended up dragging along for like 6 years, and this is because it was put off by his team of lawyers. They figured if the girls, the victims, ages, if they aged some, looked a little older, it wouldn't look so bad versus having a child on the stand, having a baby on the stand. So that's the accounts from the journalists. Now, moving on to Raven Ginger, that's Niece's friend. She attended high school with Niece, and she also played basketball. They played on the same high school basketball team together. And Raven does recall seeing R. Kelly at some of their basketball games, and he just seemed to be there for support like any other father figure would. So she didn't think too much about that, and she did end up testifying in trial about it. And she did also have to view the tape and say whether or not it was Niece in the video, which she claims that it was Niece in the video. Now, another person, Jacquees Conway, he's Niece's basketball coach. He also said that he witnessed R. Kelly being at several of the high school games, and he thought it to be a little strange that he was even there, but he didn't think much about it. And he also said that he was made aware of the sex tape by another student, and he went to the news station and he viewed the tape, and he does claim that it was Niece in the videotape. Now, he was also a witness on the stand, and he actually says that he talked to Niece's mother himself, and she told him that that was not her daughter in that tape. Okay, so Javante Cunningham, she didn't have much more to say other than what she said in day 2. She just claims that her and Niece and Sparkle, they were close, and Sparkle is actually the godmother to her son. So that's just to say that they were just that close, because I believe the interviewer asked her how did she find out about the tape, and she said that that doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how she found out about the tape. The tape should have never happened. So that was her account for day 2. And Craig Williams, which we know from day 1, the music producer, he claims that R. Kelly's entire camp knew about everything that was going on. Everything. The sexual encounters, his behavior, everything. Okay, that was the end of that. So now getting more into detail about Jerronda Pace. She's interviewing now here, and she has a book out. She has a book. She's going into descriptive detail about everything. She does give a little bit here, but if you want to know more, you need to go check out her book, because it has a lot more to say than what she's actually saying here. But she claims to have been a super fan of R. Kelly, and she ended up meeting him at his trial. She said she was only 14 years old at the time when this was going on. And she said that she used to sneak away and skip school to do this, to be at his trial every day. And no one ever knew. Her mom didn't even know, because she worked a lot and she found it easy to get away. So, yeah, she was only a freshman in high school. Just a freshman. She was a freshman in high school, 14 years old, while she was sneaking away to his trials. So how she ended up becoming involved with R. Kelly, she said that one of his friends sent her a message inviting her to be a part, and inviting her to a party. And she said in the same moment, he called her phone and said that he did remember her from the trial, and he thanked her for her support. And she claims that he ended up inviting her back to his mansion and was told to bring a swimsuit and call him daddy, and don't tell nobody where she was going. Okay, all in that one conversation, he's getting started right off the top, call me daddy. Okay, so she says that R. Kelly confided in her about his molestation, and she felt compelled to bond with him because she had also been molested as a young child. Okay, so during their rendezvous, she was told to change into her swimsuit and walk like a model. She was then told to remove her top and then her bottoms. She said that after that, they began to kiss, and she stopped him to tell him that she was a virgin. And he asked her age, and she showed him her ID and said that she was 16. And he asked her, what's that supposed to mean? Just tell everybody you 19 and act like you 21. Okay. Well, she claims that he then told her that it was time to take her virginity, bent her over a couch, and took it. She said that it was painful, very uncomfortable, but she just assumed that that's how it was supposed to go. She didn't know she's a virgin. So he must have just really took advantage of this child like she was a grown woman. She claims that she did experience some abuse from R. Kelly. In one incident, she says that they were sitting watching a basketball game, I believe, and he asked her who her favorite basketball team was, and she mentioned, I don't recall what she mentioned, but he didn't like that she mentioned another team. He didn't like the fact that her favorite team was not the Chicago Bulls, and ended up slapping her across her face for it, and also disciplined her by not allowing her to eat for 3 days. She said she survived on water and peanuts that she had stashed. Now, in 2009, she says that she was sent out by R. Kelly to look for other girls, and she ended up contacting her friend Dominique Gardner, which she was 17 years old at the time. Now, this is going to be more a part of day 3 series, because she doesn't give much detail about Dominique Gardner, but she did mention that Dominique Gardner ended up coming into the camp, and she never saw her friend The only communication that they had were through text. They tried many times to meet up, but it never happened. So yeah, that's Jerronda Pace's account of what she's experienced with R. Kelly. And they did also have a former employee of his. They were disguised, blacked out. They didn't want to show their face. But this person mentions to have been friends with R. Kelly and didn't want to believe and didn't believe that it was niece in the tape, but heard all throughout R. Kelly's camp that it was indeed niece in the tape. And the employee, the former employee, also admits to noticing the rules of the house for the girls, one being going like 1 to 2 days without eating. As Jerronda Pace mentioned, she was disciplined for not liking the Chicago Bulls as her favorite team. She was punished by being starved for 3 days. So there you have it. That's the end of day 2's review. And to recap what's to happen in day 3, it seems it's going to be more focused on parents being interviewed and seeking their daughter, seeking their children, their daughters that's still held captive, allegedly, in R. Kelly's grasp. So yeah, that's what day 3 is seeming to be. Just like Dominique, her mom interviewed just a little bit at the end of day 2, and she was saying that she even contacted R. Kelly and told him if he don't leave her daughter alone, he's going to have some problems. So I'm guessing that that's going to move on into day 3. We just have to stay tuned and see. But yeah, guys, that's it. And I just want to thank you for watching, listening, and go ahead, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to stay tuned for more videos that I have to drop, hit the notification bell so you can always stay updated. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.